Hello, everyone. Welcome to the newest podcast, or should I say, a reinvented podcast. I guess you could say.
Yeah,
We have reinvented ourselves, rebranded ourselves. Uh, Once
yeah,
upon a time, we were freaks. We were cartridge freaks, but now
we were.
we have morphed into. Cody, would you like to say our title?
Educators Unscripted.
Educators Unscripted. We have both grown up a bit in life. We still do the same things for the most part in terms of hobbies, but we have, kind of settled into our jobs and kids and all that good stuff. And now we have kind of changed the title of the podcast, but we're going to keep a lot of the same, retro themes that we had before, some stuff like that, and try to tie into what we did do before, but also our current lives, and try to not just keep it retro, also kind of keep it current.
Yeah,
Cody, yeah. Well, first, before we even get going, my name's Andy Layton. I didn't even introduce myself. So, and this is my co-host.
Cody Greathouse. What's happening, guys?
And Cody, what do you have to say about our rebranding here?
I just think I think we've progressed here from what we used to be. I mean, you said it yourself. We used to be freaks, and now we're educators now. We're molding the minds of young children. We're not meeting people behind sketchy dumpsters anymore, trying to get NES games as if it's like a drug deal. Like we're straight up, up in the classroom every day.
We're not meeting people off of Craigslist at
No.
gas stations in Nitro.
Yeah, we're not going and picking up rare games on Lincoln Avenue on Christmas night. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. I feel like there's always going to be a little bit of a freak in me, but now I'm an educator and we're moving to better and brighter days,
Yeah, and we're gonna bring up some of our old stories, because I know. And we're keeping the same Facebook page. We are that way the people that did follow us before, because unfortunately our episodes did get lost, and
Rip.
over time, because for a long time I paid the fee to keep them alive and active and all that stuff, and then we never got settled on coming back, and eventually I let it go, and they said that they would stay on there for a certain while, and eventually they got erased. And
Yeah.
I wish at the time I would have backed them up, and odds are on some computer they are somewhere. I just don't know where. I did find one episode on my old Dell laptop a couple months ago.
What episode was it?
I don't remember.
You remember?
I would have to go dig it up, because
Yeah.
I do not remember. I saw that computer and I thought, man, I feel like that's the computer we did a lot of those episodes on. So maybe at least the MP3 file is on there, but I only found it wasn't a finished copy. It was just like a before editing copy of one, and
Yeah.
I can't remember. It was sometime over the summer when I found it, because I had to go get a cord for the laptop. So
I will say, in terms of cartridge freak days, the mass collection that I had in my house when we moved to our home, it took forever to get that stuff boxed up and brought to our new house. But I will say this, and I'm I'm sad somewhat, but I was glad to get rid of some of the stuff that I had. I sold a lot of my duplicates and a couple more of my rare games because I wanted to get a Nintendo Switch. And when I went through there, I remember telling my parents, everybody, that when I collected these games, they were like, "Why are you going and collecting all this stuff? You're just wasting your money." I'm like, guys, trust me. Like, this is going to be worth some cash. I'm telling you. Not that I collected it to sell it eventually, but when I wanted something, or no, I'm sorry, I didn't sell it to get a Switch. I got a new PC.
yeah,
With the games I sold, and the game that I sold to a collector, a big Super Nintendo collector, ended up selling for like $300. And I remember my wife, which was my fiance at the time, a cartridge freak, or my girlfriend, I can't remember. She was just like, "Oh my gosh, somebody paid that for that game?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like, I've told you guys this the entire time. These things are worth a lot of money just because, they don't make them anymore.
Well, and we got in. We were in that right at the bubble of like
Oh yeah, a
before
perfect time.
it just popped right after
Yeah,
the time that we probably were on episode 7 or 8 was when it was starting to get harder
yeah,
to get stuff. And
yeah.
before, and it, we just at that time didn't have time to go out and find all these things and do all that stuff. And
No,
that was
well, not.
also kind of part of the death of the whole thing, was we didn't have the time to go out and hunt these things and do all that
Yeah,
stuff. But we were lucky. We were very lucky at that time that we got a lot of that stuff. But I still have most of my stuff. I think
oh, I have a lot of it.
yeah, I sold some of the ones that were more rare ones that were in not the best of shape. Like
Yeah,
I sold those. Power Blade 2, like I sold it because it had like a hairline fracture in it, and
yeah,
like I felt bad selling it at $350. So like I sold it for like 150. I remember people online were like, "Oh, you're crazy! Like, why are you selling it for $150?" But like I
yeah,
felt bad, like because it had like as soon as you pop the screws off of it, it had a crack on it, and I was like right underneath the sticker, and like I felt
yeah.
bad. Like I didn't want to sell that to somebody full price, so
No, of
I
course
sold
not.
it for less, and I sold my DuckTales too because the one I got on Christmas night, because it the sticker was getting worse on it and stuff like
Yeah,
that, and things that at that time that I played, and I was like, if unless it's truly sentimental to me, one of my favorites, like I'm gonna just go ahead and let it go. But some of my more favorites, I still have. I still have my Mario 3 in the box, my Mario 64 in the box, all those things that like meant a lot
yeah.
to me in my childhood. Like I still have all that stuff. So
Right.
it's not in here yet, but I do have it. So
And same with me. Yeah,
and I do still have my all my 64 games.
yeah.
I did not get rid of any of those, even though
I
some
do
of
have a
them.
ton of my Super Nintendo games. Just the duplicates I got rid of, which I had a lot of duplicates of. Quite a few rare games that people were actually wanting when I was starting to downsize there, which I ended up making, and I'm not lying. I paid in full for my PC by selling the duplicates of my Super Nintendo collection, and that was probably $1,500, $1,600 that I made, which blew people away.
Now I did sell off. I did sell off all my Sega Saturn stuff. It was
Yeah,
it was wasting away, and I knew
yeah,
I had a good talk with a guy from a store, the one we used to go to in Chillicothe, that one,
yeah, yeah,
about Saturn disc and stuff like that and their condition, and I was like, I think I'm gonna go hang it out of the Saturn game right now.
yeah,
So I got out of that. I sold all that stuff to somebody here in town, and like I still have a lot of my Dreamcast stuff. It's that disc stuff that I always get
yeah,
concerned about, the condition of them over
yeah.
time, whereas the cartridges, tend to. Now, I still have all the GameCube stuff that like BJ gave me and stuff like that. Like I still have all that
Right.
stuff. I don't want to get rid of it, but
Yeah,
it seems like Nintendo stuff I kept, and everything else
yeah.
is just kind of,
Yeah, I got rid of a lot of my.
it's there.
I
It's
even got
there.
rid of a lot of my Sega Genesis stuff
I still
too.
have all that. I have a lot of Sega Genesis stuff.
The
A lot
that's
of Sega Genesis stuff. 'Cause I bought that
yeah,
box of sports games from the preacher that lived across the street.
yeah,
He like knocked on the door one time. He's like, "Hey, I got all these games for $20. You want them?" And I was like, "Yeah." And it was only $20, and there was like controllers in there too. So I was like,
yeah,
"Well, yeah, definitely, I'll pay that." And I bet there was at least 15 random Sega Genesis sports games like
yeah,
that aren't worth a darn thing or anything that you want to play. But I took them on. I think the only
yeah.
one that was worth more than a couple of dollars was Jerry Glenville football.
Oh
That
God.
was like an $8 or $9 cartridge. Other than that, they
Ugh.
were all little, even in case, just not worth much. So,
And as
but
as we move on with this episode, I do want to apologize for the incessant cranking that you hear out of my computer chair. I don't want people to like listen to this episode and be like, "Oh my God, that guy's like straight up ripping farts in the background. It's disgusting." Definitely not ripping farts. Like it's just the squeaky chair. So
I like to think our quality is a lot better than what we had before. So,
it's definitely yeah,
we at that time I was learning. I was really learning with audio, and yeah, we were. There's little so audio tech headsets like I used to have and stuff like that. Like I think I
yeah,
still have those at school, like those little USB mics. Like we use those.
yep,
remember the episode we did down in the basement with Weaver and Nick
And Nikki?
Stevens? Yeah, it was awesome. Like, we did like top 5 games of all time and stuff like that. And yeah, we did a lot of good stuff on that show. And
That was a great time, man.
We're gonna bring some of those things in, and also talk about the current too. Talk about current life. Talk about things going on in our life right now, things we're doing right now, stuff like that. We're gonna try to find a way to just kind of, turn everything in. We'll see. It's this is just kind of an intro episode, just to get everything on here and get it all out in the open, and then we'll see where everything goes from there.
Yep.
So next, just kind of a brief introductory, if you're somebody that didn't listen to the previous podcast. Well, of course, it's been years at this point, so if there's people that still remember things from that show, I appreciate your actually, we do randomly get messages on Facebook from people that do,
we do
recall the
and
good
guys
times.
Throughout this hiatus that we've had, we've had numerous Facebook likes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And just like Andy said, messages like, "Hey, when you guys coming back?" And I'm like, wow, I did not think we were that. And I'm not saying we were big by any means, but I'm just like, I didn't know people actually listen to us consistently. But we've had people like, "Hey, man, I miss listening to you guys on my drive to work," and blah blah blah. And it's like, dang, I didn't know. We got that far with people.
Well, we still get probably 5 likes a week or so, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're at what 2,500 likes or something like that. I mean,
yeah, and then that guy that got our logo tattooed on his back, that was insane.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a complete joke. Nobody got our tattoo.
I was gonna say I thought his name was Cody.
That was on my chest. Okay.
And the people liking it are probably people that search in Facebook and find that word, the cartridge, word, probably find that, and stuff like that. So, I understand that's probably part of the game too. But that logo was a nice logo.
It was a nice logo.
Mo Aloof, a teacher at our school, did a great job on that. And
he did.
Yeah, he knocked it out of the park. So I will miss the Cartridge Freaks logo. So
yeah.
RIP. It'll be the first time it gets changed in 5 years.
Yep.
So, but now we're gonna go into just each of us hobbies, and we'll start off with that. Let's go hobbies. Cody, what's some of the things you do as a hobby in your life?
Well, first off, obviously, I'm an educator. I enjoy teaching. I enjoy being around the kids. It's one of my biggest things. Is developing relationships with those guys and girls, and messing around, giving them crap every day, and watching them grow. I teach middle school, so watching them grow from those awkward lives up onto their high school days and graduating, and talking to them as they leave high school. It's kind of neat to see them grow and turn into adults, like a young caterpillar coming from the cocoon into a beautiful butterfly. Some not so beautiful, but it is what it is. That's what you have to deal with at times. You see some kids go off a different direction than what you thought, but that's just the reality. I'm definitely still into gaming. Definitely. I told you guys I stream on, or I have a PC, and with that I stream different types of games on Twitch and on Facebook.
Plug.
No, not a plug. Not a plug.
You can plug yourself now. Plug
all right. Well, you can follow me at Twitch at CGrizzy6. Follow me on Facebook at Father Figure Gaming. That's one that a friend of mine and myself, well, a couple friends and myself, we stream different games on there all the time. Now that I have my Switch, I've been doing a lot of gaming on the Super Nintendo. Is it an app? I don't know. It's has all kinds of Super Nintendo games on it, and I've been playing a few games on there. Here recently, I've actually gotten sponsored and do the iRacing thing. I mean, it's a variety, guys. I'm telling you, sometimes I'm playing Call of Duty, sometimes I'm playing Valorant, which is this new PC game that's come out. Sometimes you'll see me racing a car. It's just a hodgepodge of games I'll play on there. Sometimes I'll play through. We just did a playthrough of Resident Evil, which was fun. A lot of people tuned in and chimed in on that one.
Truck driving simulator.
truck driving simulator for fun. Now that I have the steering wheel and pedal set up, it's just, guys, it's just a good time that we just get in and BS with each other and have a good time and laugh and make fun of ourselves, make fun of me. That's one of my hobbies. I have a 7-month-old now. Watching her grow and hanging out with her. And, one thing I can say about this whole coronavirus thing is, we've definitely had a lot of time to watch her grow the past couple months, and that's been a blast. She's growing like crazy, as a lot of you parents out there probably understand too. And that's really it. I coach high school basketball. I love being around kids and teaching them right from wrong and trying to steer them in the right direction as an educator. That's why I kind of threw out that whole cocoon thing is, as an educator, you fall in love with these kids and you really care about these kids. And, when you see them go down the right track and they go on to lead these successful lives, you're like, you really had a part in that. And then sometimes you'll see kids go down a different path and, it hurts, but at the end of the day, you have to realize as an educator, that's just the reality of education in itself. But that's a brief synopsis of me. Andy, what are you feeling, man? What are some hobbies?
I don't have a whole lot at this point. I like I said, educator as well. That's the whole point of our podcast. Educators Unscripted is I am one as well. I teach computers. I teach junior high computers. Also do some like advanced technology type classes. I run our high school broadcast program where we live stream games. We have a class. We live stream football, basketball. Try to dabble in different things depending on available phone service. But we do all kinds of things, trying to give kids an opportunity to, some of my kids don't want to do that someday, but some do. And trying to give them some kind of a background to know at least a little bit of what they're doing, have some games under their belt before they go on to college. So one of my students, he did ran camera for us the last 2 years and went to WVU this year and was running a camera on basketball days, already. First year as a freshman up there running cameras. So that's what, of course, they're huge cameras compared to our little tiny cameras are a lot different, but still, it's, I think it's more about the work ethic and the being dedicated to the cause. He was definitely somebody who was dedicated to the cause. So, things like that, that's my day job stuff. I'm also, like I said, I think I said it a minute ago, but middle school as well. I don't know how many years I've been doing it in middle school only. It's definitely been a while at this point. I guess it's 8 years maybe now, I think. I don't really remember. I want to say 8 on the middle school side. So this year's been kind of a different job. I think a more fun job, something I'm more into, showing kids video all day and computers and audio. That was a big thing this year, was trying to show them more audio stuff and do some podcasts and do some different things like that. When WVU came with the Brand Journey people, that was one of their comments was, I wish I could have had a class in high school that I worked with audio. Even just recording a podcast would have been something I would have loved in high school. So little things like that, try to just lay some kind of a base. And I always say it's not so much about whether they want to go into some kind of video program, but more about whether they can use those tools someday in another job. If they go into insurance, how can you use video to improve, your situation there? How can you, if you go into a hospital, work in marketing, how can you use those things there? All that stuff. How can you use these tools to improve yourself later in life and in other classes? A lot of my kids, I think, use this stuff in their other classes, and I think tend to be a little more creative than some others. So, not to brag, but I like to think they are. So, hobby-wise here, when I'm not at school, which is a lot, I'm there a lot. This spring was actually like
I can second that.
This spring was actually like my break, because I was after school a lot as a game administrator at different things, and especially that winter, I was there at least 3 nights a week. So, have a 5-year-old daughter, little Natalie. She is definitely a talkative little thing that does not stop from the time her feet hit the floor till the time she lays down in bed. She usually falls asleep within about 2 minutes because she has not stopped all day. So she is a chatty little thing. Hopefully someday we can get her involved in some of this stuff on here. I think she would get a kick out of putting a headset on and doing some different stuff. So she loves video and stuff like that too. Big YouTube kids. She was talking to Siri a lot the last couple of days, and if Siri didn't give her what she wanted, it was time to throw down.
That was funny.
It was like yesterday. It was like, Siri, how do you cut open a snake? And I'm like, what kind of question is this for a 5-year-old? And she said it wasn't a real snake; it was a play snake. You know.
Oh yeah, the play snake.
Yeah. Gaming wise, I haven't really got my retro stuff out since I moved. I'm gonna try to hopefully sometime. At least I got my Nintendo Classic in here, but other than that, I don't really have any of that stuff out. It's in boxes right now. Current stuff, I dabble in different things, but I've always been a sports gamer. So I play a lot of Madden and 2K and mainly Madden in the show. That's kind of the things. I skipped the show for a few years, but I bought it this year, so I've been playing that a little bit. I'm not that great at it, but I try. So
yeah.
Now, if you put me on some college football from
Hey, tell them about what did we have this year before we let out?
Well, are you talking about like playing and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, what did we do every day?
Oh, we had the PS3 rolling and playing a little bit, and I think my PS3 was woken up from a deep coma or deep state of. So it was like, what are you doing, firing me up? Like, because this is one I've had from like, it's not my first one, but it's one of the fat ones. I mean, it's still an original one. Like it sounds like it's going to take off like spaceship style whenever you fire it up.
It does.
And but no, I kept all those college football games. You know, I had them all the way through, and I only have like 3 of them here. The others are away somewhere. I don't know where, but I do have. My favorite one was the Robert Griffin one. I think that's 12. I want to say so. That's my favorite one. 12 or 13 is Robert Griffin. That's my favorite one. But that last one, especially during this quarantine, my gosh, the prices on that stuff is like insane right now. Trying to find those games. I mean, that's one reason why I kept them, because I knew from having the College Hoops 2K8 with Greg Oden on it that the prices were going to go up on those things. Plus, those are my games. You know, like those are the games that I played. So I've kept it, and I'm glad I did, because we didn't play that last one a whole lot because the recruiting was different and stuff like that. And I didn't like it as much, but we played it, and it's fun. So I can pick that game up at this point and play it, and like just that instant, anger just builds, builds, and just dumb stuff that happens, stuff that works, and then there's stuff that you can't get away with, and I hate it. Remember when you weren't playing, I went and created just out of boredom, I went and created a 99 quarterback, just so I could just see if I could win the Heisman. That was my goal. I didn't care, whatever I had to do, I had to win the Heisman. So I played 6 games, and I'm doing pretty well, but I'm gunslinger, just throwing it down the field. I don't care if it gets picked or not. I'll just consider it a punt. I'm doing all this stuff, and then sure enough, he got hurt. Game 6, and I was like, I'm out. I was like, I'm not going to the backup quarterback. I was like, no way.
Rip.
No huddle, gunslinger, all that good stuff. I always playing your brother. I always remember playing no huddle with him.
Oh yeah, he used to get so mad, man.
As soon as I'd start, I start that game and hit that triangle, start that no huddle, and he'd be no, Andy, no, don't start this. No, stop it.
Yeah. Man, he used to lay into me every year in college football, and I remember watching him and Andy play a game, and I'm like, you know what?
Because hitches,
I'm stealing this. I'm stealing this.
Hitch curl.
Yeah.
Just underneath, and then bam.
And the first time I played him, I went no huddle. He's like, "You got Cody? Come on, serious."
So, try to. I play a good bit right now, not a whole lot. It just depends on if I have her and I don't have her, so all that stuff. So school or here. I don't really. I watch a lot of Netflix. Not even a lot really, but
Yeah.
some. Just depends.
Yeah.
Podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts. That's probably my biggest thing. Like I don't even listen to game audio. I just turn on a
Right.
podcast. So that's pretty much all I do with that. Back to next topic. Let's go back to the retro stuff here. We talked kind of about the current stuff. Cody, what were some retro things that you, whether it was on our podcast or I guess we talked a little bit about the podcast stuff, but just retro things as a whole. Like if you had to say the things you enjoyed the most retro, or that you enjoy the most retro.
I'm a big Super Nintendo guy. I think growing up, my brother was big on the NES, and then when it hit that era of I'm 28. Andy's 6 years older than I am, but one thing we connect on because of Tad, my older brother, is I did everything he did. I think growing up, always being the little brother, you always want to copycat, or the younger brother, you always want to copycat your older brother, and that's what I did. And when Sega came out, my brother was big on Sega. We never owned a Super Nintendo, but I always wanted one. My good friend Justin Weaver, he always had one, and just hearing him talk about it and the games and the RPGs, those were things that I always wanted to jump into and play. Like the Zeldas, the Chrono Triggers, those different types of games. And so when Andy and I first started collecting, like Andy had told you guys at the very beginning of the episode, I remember going to a flea market every weekend. It was in this building. It was called Alligator Jack's was the name of this building. And there was a small, vendor there of a guy that he knew what he had, but he never priced his stuff off of what Andy and I followed in terms of pricing. And at that time, I think his tent, or his little thing that he had, his little section there that he owned, they were shutting down, and he had to get rid of the stuff. And I remember going up there, and the first game that caught my eye was Zombies Ate My Neighbors for Super Nintendo. I remember going to my friend's house and playing Zombies Ate My Neighbors, and that game was one of my favorite all-time games. And I remember he had it for like $10, and I was blown away because that's a game that is virtually it's rather expensive, or it was at that point in time. I don't know what it is now because I haven't kept up with price charting or anything like that, but I remember snagging that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I think getting that deal, I was like, man, there's a lot of other games that I want for the Super Nintendo. I had it was all yellow and jaundiced, it was a nasty Super Nintendo that I bought at a flea market. But just to say that I had one was awesome. And fast forward, oh God, 10 years after Cartridge Freaks, Cartridge Freaks 5 years ago, but let's say, 8 years, when I get the Nintendo Switch, finally they have that. If you do the Nintendo Online, they have the Super Nintendo. It's not an emulator. I don't know. They have that thing on there, and I was like, awesome. They have a lot of good RPGs. They have a lot of good things on there. But I think retro-wise, I was big into the Super Nintendo, hands down. I mean, when I was collecting, if there was a game not on I had an Excel spreadsheet with all the games that I owned, in terms of Super Nintendo, and I went to these flea markets, I had the prices memorized. I had the titles memorized. I knew what I wanted to pay. I knew everything like that. That's how big Andy and I got into it. So Super Nintendo is definitely one of my tops in terms of retro. But being younger, the NES, I just watched my brother play it all the time. So that was always something that I kind of relate to, is something that Tad played, was the NES. But like I said, as I got older, retro-wise, Super Nintendo, where we didn't have one, was always my thing.
For me, retro thing, I'm definitely gonna say Virtual Boy.
Really?
No, I'm joking.
You're a liar. God bless it. I knew it. Like, as soon as you said that, I was like, what?
No, NES was my first. I had an Atari, an older Atari, but it was from my cousin. I never really played it a whole lot. NES was my first. My love is probably that Super Nintendo range. I never had a Sega Genesis growing up. My cousin had one. That was the only time I ever played it, maybe a couple times. Other than that, I never really played it. And Super Nintendo was always that that thing for me at an NES. NES was the first love, I guess. Super Nintendo was kind of, I guess, the next level. And then, I mean, my fondest memories, I guess, retro growing up, I guess you could say, was around when I was like, you know, 5th, 6th grade, junior high, like, you know, getting into the PlayStation and Nintendo 64, and yeah, those things have aged horribly. Like they're hard to play now.
Oh,
But you know, at that time, like things like GoldenEye, stuff like that, that was, you know, really, you know, truly like revolutionary and all that stuff. And you know, renting Nintendo 64 before I owned it, renting it from Network, good old Network.
oh yeah.
R.I.P.
Rip.
Mike.
Oh, Mikey boy.
Man, those were the days. Renting the systems and renting wrestling movies or VHS tapes with it too. And
Yep.
if I'd seen the same Royal Rumble 5 times, you know, just renting it. And,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I mean, that NES, Super Nintendo, I guess my first love, and then I mean my fondest, you know, I think memories as a whole in terms of like friends and stuff like that is probably that like 5th through 7th, 8th grade range when you're, you know, just on the weekends renting those systems and playing games and, you know, especially that multiplayer, you know, 64 and stuff like that, you know, and that the multi-tap for PlayStation and all that good stuff. So, and then, you know, I mean, I don't know when the line of retro ends in terms of definition. I guess you'd say Dreamcast is definitely part of that retro.
It has to be.
Yeah, I love the Dreamcast. Definitely, it was. I mean, I had it on release date. Like I always loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was I made sure to have at least all of my games that I grew up with, whether it was Ready to Rumble and Crazy Taxi and all that good stuff. Like Crazy Taxi. So, retro wise, but collecting wise, like I mean, like he said, we were we were deep, you know.
Gosh,
we were going up there about every weekend. I mean, when he was
went to the guy's house.
Yeah, he was selling out. Like we were in.
They offered us a home cooked meal.
Yeah.
Like, we feel bad for taking all your money. And we're like, we feel bad for ripping you off on all these games, guys. Like, really?
Well, because at that time, like,
you really don't know what you have here.
Like, price charting really wasn't around. It was kind of hard unless you, like, knew how to search eBay listings, how to get a price on stuff. You know, price charting's made it easy, but, like, at that time, you had to search eBay listings and all that stuff. And I just remember when they were going out of business, like, all the Dreamcast games were, like, $5, and then they were half off, so they were $2.50.
Yeah.
And like I was getting like Power Stone 2 and like all these like crazy rare Dreamcast games for $2.50, and I was like, oh my gosh, like yes, I'm gonna take this every single time. Like I will clean out every Dreamcast game you have.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we were going up there a good bit and buying a lot online and all that good stuff too. But in terms of my true retro loves, I would say that's probably where or how I would define what my retro loves are.
Of course.
So now, getting ready to get to the end here. What are you hoping to get out of this podcast?
I think for me personally, like I really love retelling those old stories. Like I have fires at the house, and we'll sit around. Andy will come over, and that is one of Andy and myself. Like we love sitting around fires. Like we're pyromaniacs at times. But we'll sit there and we'll talk those old stories of just going out and collecting and whatnot. And it was just, I want to hit on those stories, but also, I want to hit on what's going on in today's world. Nintendo Switch. Like I love Nintendo Switch. I still want to talk gaming, and I still want to talk about, past, present. I want to compare the two. I'm not gonna lie, like in terms of educator, like I want to be able to take one of these podcasts and throw it into one of my lessons someday in the English classroom. When we talk about, technology and these technological companies, and maybe, you know, one thing I still talk about to this day, when we talk about, things happening in modern, or in modern times. I mentioned it when the coronavirus hit, how big of a freak out everybody was having, which is completely understandable. And obviously, I'm not getting political here or anything like that. That is, and that's one thing I do want to say is like, this is not a political podcast by any means, but I compared it to Y2K and like the freak out that had happened over the year turning 2000, and just telling my kids about that time. They were like blown away that people were freaking out in 1999 on New Year's Eve that like the world was going to end on New Year's Day 2000. Like blown away that people were feeling this way. And like I said, obviously, like with the coronavirus, like people passed away and things like that. But my thing was mass panic over the media and things like that. Like those are things that I kind of want to bring into my classroom and kind of teach my kids like how it is now compared to how it was when I grew up in terms of technology, which will, spoiler alert, will be a later episode, but I'm looking to have fun with it. I'm really looking to have fun and get our viewers involved and things like that. So we'll see how it comes, how it goes.
I think our definition, the word that we used last week, was broad. This is definitely going to be very broad.
Very.
We're not just talking about games. We're not just talking about, we're and we'll probably eventually narrow down as time goes along, but I think mainly we just want to get back on the air, and try to get this thing going again.
Yeah, I missed it,
And we don't have anything to do until mid-August. So
yeah.
we might as well sit down once a week or so and get something out. And like he said, hopefully eventually turn this into something that our kids hear and listen to and can be involved in and stuff like that. And also our past viewers, or listeners, I guess you could say. Our past listeners that are on our page and listened to us before, all that good stuff, our current friends, family, whoever it is, a way to try to get everybody involved. That's why, we're not just going to talk about games every week. We're not, and that was kind of the ship that sailed on the old one, was when we stopped collecting and, when we stopped going out and doing all these things, things became dry. We didn't have as much to talk about. And
anything to talk about,
I think by opening it up and saying, we're not just about games. We're going to talk about different stuff. Things from the past, things from the present, whatever it is. I think every week's going to be a little fluid. We're going to try to have some different segments and some stuff like that, and just try to keep it free and flowing, and something hopefully people will enjoy listening to.
Yeah.
So, and that will be the purpose of Educators Unscripted. So
Definitely.
For next week, we came up with this right before we got on air, and I'm
so excited.
I think as a whole, we'll probably sit down and try to map out, a couple episodes at a time or whatever. That way we, if we have to do any homework or anything like that, we have plenty of time to do it.
I'm so excited for next week, though.
But I think next week, and like I said, we're gonna try to tie in some different segments and some of these things, like what are we doing right now, buy anything interesting, whatever it might be. We'll tie all those things in as we go with different segments, and then we'll have a main topic that people can contribute to, listen to, all that hopefully contribute on our Facebook page, all that good stuff. So our topic for next week is our first topic is we're going to look at how things have changed from when I was 15 and when Cody was 15, which are two, 6 years apart or so.
6 year difference,
so a little bit of time, a little bit of time difference there. But we're each going to reminisce of when I was 15, what technology was like, gaming was like, what our normal,
what life was like.
Yeah, life and technology and all that stuff. Maybe what a normal day in our life would have been at that age, and trying to, I don't know. There's different things we're going to talk about during the week, I guess, to try to piece this together. But we're just going to look and say, what was going on when I was 15?
Yeah.
What was going on in the world? What was my day like? What did I do? What kind of games did I play? What kind of systems did I play? What kind of music did I listen to? How did I get my
Oh
music?
man. I'm so excited, man. You have no idea.
This will be, kind of a big topic, but I think it'll be a lot of fun.
It'll be a fun episode, man.
Yeah. So we'll give us a couple days to do some homework on and stuff like that. Get this first episode out. Change our logo, which, by the way, if you've listened to this all the way through, our logo is not going to be anything special at first.
Nah.
Hopefully I'll get time to mess around with that stuff soon. But yeah,
Better than nothing.
sometimes I am not the most creative with that stuff. That's why we had Mo do the other one. So
True.
I will, I'll try to mess with that sometime in the next week or two, but mainly just try to get this audio out, get our page going again, and all of our old posts and stuff like that will still be up. There wasn't a whole lot on there. There's some pictures, and
We'll be more active on this.
I kind of went
for
through
sure.
it. Yeah, I kind of went through it a little bit. So
I'm excited to revamp just kind of everything, just bring it back to life.
Yeah, so it'll be fun, like I said, since we don't have anything to do or until August, anyways. So, well, that will close up the. I guess we're gonna call this episode 1, but just kind of a
The pilot episode.
pilot episode. Get our voices back out there. Hopefully, get our logo changed on the page, all that good stuff. Get our iTunes and Spotify and all that good stuff running. And then by the time next week starts up, we will get rolling and
Back at it again.
back at it. Hopefully not once every 5 years.
Well, it is what it is. All right, guys. We'll see you on in the next 5 years. All right.
All right. Talk to you guys next week.
See you guys.